Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the renaissance that is Island Park. We're here today with Senator Schumer, with Senator Kaminsky, New York State Senator, with Ms. Laura Curran, our county executive, Ms. Laura Gillen, our supervisor. Councilman D'Esposito is here. Assemblywoman Missy Miller is here. Nassau County Legislator Denise Ford is here as well.
Well, we got to do one thing.
Yes, sir.
We cannot have all the women on one side.
How's that?
Very good.
A rose among the thorns, or the other way around?
Wow. A lot of roses.
True
Few
enough.
thorns.
So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Senator Schumer. By the way, on behalf of the village, we're grateful for the passion, the hands-on concern, and the personal touch he brings to this village and its problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, and I thank Cassie. Cassie has come to a few of our events,
Yes.
and she's great. How old is she now?
She's 8 years old.
8, not bad. And what is her breeding?
Shepherd and Terrier.
Shepherd and Terrier. Very nice. Okay, good. And first of all you press people, raise your hands that you're upset that we made you come to the beach on a beautiful September day. There you go. Okay, and second, as some of the people here know, I like songs. So we have a song we're dedicating to this event. The Backstreet Bays are coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Get it? The Backstreet Boys? Yeah, got it?
He liked it.
Where are the Backstreet Boys from? Brooklyn, where I'm from. So we like them very much, or did. Okay. Since they're no longer, or at least their lead is no longer with us. Okay. What? They are making a comeback. That's great. I wanted to go to the Rolling Stones concert, but I couldn't. We're in Washington. That's my favorite still. And we'll have a song that we're not going to sing the Rolling Stones song, You Can't Always Get What You Want, because we are going to get what we want, okay? All right, back to the serious part of this. First, these are great folks I'm joined with, Democrat, Republican, at all 3 levels of government, federal, state, local, county, and village, because we're all united in one thing. And that is that we need to do everything we can to make sure that what happened years ago with Sandy does not happen again. And we don't want to wait for it to happen and have to rebuild. The mayor has done a great job. The community has done a great job. There's so many of these houses, as you walk by, are now protected by being raised. But we want to avoid that. And one of the ways to avoid it is to study how things work and make sure they don't come back. And there are ways to do it. Our Army Corps of Engineers are the experts, the national experts on this, and we need their help, and I'll get to that in a minute. We know we're in the middle of hurricane season. When Dorian is spinning up the coast, even when the commentators say, well, it won't hit New York, I worry because I remember Sandy. I'm sure every person who lives in these houses and all across the southern shore of Long Island says, God forbid it makes a turn the other way, as Sandy did. So we're in hurricane season, and that should be a reminder that we need to do everything we can to focus on what is called resilience. Resilience means making sure things are protected before the hurricane comes. So when it comes, we won't go through the horror that we went through with Sandy. And so we, right from the get-go, I have urged the Army Corps of Engineers to study the entire Back Bay, not just here in Island Park, but throughout southern Nassau County, to determine what we should be doing so that if, God forbid, another Sandy comes, we will not have the same degree of flooding. And the Army Corps has done it. They've spent 3 years examining how to shield us from surges, flood, wind, and more. But all of that could erode away if we don't act fast. Our critical efforts to protect Nassau's Back Bay communities from hurricanes and storms could drown in bureaucracy unless the feds, the Army Corps, acts. And that could happen. We could have a cutoff date as early as September 30th when they don't any longer continue the great study that they have been doing. So we have a message today to the feds. Don't turn a blind eye to Nassau just as the eye of any hurricane begins to set its sights. And my great staff, as you know, always has little props for me. Okay, you can see the danger. This was Sandy, which hit us unexpectedly. This is Dorian. We're not saying Dorian will hit, but in the next few years there are going to be more hurricanes like this. And we got to make sure that if, God forbid, they come our way, we're protected. And that's what this season means for us. So let me explain what's going on here. Back in 2016, I was able to secure $3 million for the Army Corps to begin a major study that looked at the back bays and the 30 miles of coastal communities. Of course, one of the most exposed right here is Island Park. The work is not done. They've spent 3 years studying it. They've come up with some very good stuff. But they need more time. And that's what the local Army Corps has told us. Why did it take longer and why will it cost more? A, because the area is huge. There are several 100,000 people living along the shorefront and nearby in the Back Bay areas. It's complex. How you prevent another storm with all the titanic fury that these storms have from doing damage is not an easy thing. You can't just snap your fingers and study it. And there are various options. And the Army Corps, what they do is they give the community, they will give us options. All of that is taking a little more time and a little more money. And you'd think the Army Corps would say, we've sunk some money into this already. The damage is real. There's probably not an area, maybe, except for the southern coast of Florida, that has more people in greater danger than the people who live along the shores of the Back Bay. But no, here's what's happened. The headquarters of the Army Corps has said cut it off, even though the local Army Corps has requested to continue and requested more money. And it's not going to cost anything, because the money is sitting there in a pot of money that we got as part of Sandy to do studies for resilience. So the money's sitting there. It's no new taxes, no new allocation, nothing. We simply need the Army Corps headquarters to say, go ahead and continue the study. It'll take a little while longer. It'll take some more money, about $6 million, but go ahead and do it. And I am here to tell the people who live alongside the Back Bay area that we're going to do everything we can to pressure the Army Corps to allow this study to be continued before September 30th, before it's cut off. All the federal work on Nassau's Back Bays would go for naught if the resiliency project is unfinished. We wouldn't want half a study or 3/4 of a study to sit on a shelf somewhere and gather dust. We're going to need to implement it as soon as they finish the study, and that's going to take some real dollars, and I'm pledged to get that. But they can't cut it off now. A modest extension of this critical study that scrutinizes the 30 miles of coast and finds the best way to mitigate the threat of future storms is what's needed. We're talking about places like Reynolds Channel and Hewlett and Middle South, Oyster, and more. And as I said, there are a ton of people who live here, and so we need to continue. Okay? According to the Comprehensive U.S. Geological Survey's Observed Storm Surge Mapper, it is clear there was a storm front on both the ocean side and the bay side of the barrier island. But those communities had severe flooding, and everyone agrees there are ways to stop it. So we simply have to get the money, get the extension, and we can get it done. Again, the money is there, sitting in the resiliency fund that we set aside when we got the Sandy money. All we need is the Army Corps headquarters to sign a little statement telling the locals who have asked to continue the study, and that's what we're going to get done. And now with that, let me call on our great state senator. We go in order: federal, state, local. So the only state official, no, we have 2 state officials here, and Todd Kaminsky will represent the state of New York here, our state senator from this area.
Thank you, Senator Schumer, for being such a tireless advocate for the residents of the South Shore. The senator works on a lot of different issues in Washington, but so few are as existential as this issue. With storms getting more severe, with sea levels rising, there is no doubt that flooding is going to be an issue that determines the future of our community. Now, a little quick story about what happened after Sandy is a Dutch team was invited through a federal and state competition to advise on how they'd fix the South Shore. And the answer that they actually gave is that they would stop flooding at the Mill River at about Rockville Center, let it flood the rest of the South Shore, and have nobody live down here. And I don't think what our friends from the Netherlands understand is what entrenched, important, middle-class, great communities that we've built over hundreds of years
Guys on
here.
the study got too much hindsight.
Exactly. So the senator is absolutely right. Resilience is the answer. We are going to continue to have great communities here with good schools and good families who are raising their kids, and we're going to have to do it in an era of inclement weather, of more severe storms, and of rising sea levels. The blueprint for how we're going to live in the next 50 years among this water is going to come from the Army Bay back study. We just saw in Long Beach an implementation and the success of the senator's great work of the Army Corps study on the ocean. That study was started in the 1960s. It was implemented after Sandy. We cannot have the same timeline of decades and decades of inaction at the local level. We know what we have to do. We all learned the hard way. These houses had water up to their kitchen countertops that we're standing to right now. And the beach behind us you could be able to walk all the way from here clear to there on sand. But we don't do that anymore, and we don't live in that world anymore. So we need to live in a resilient world. And that world is going to be created by this Back Bay study. It must get completed. Thank you, Senator Schumer, for pushing for it to get completed. And anything we could do together to make it happen, we must do. This is the beginning of a very long process that is necessary for us to thrive in this area. Necessary it is. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Our County Executive, Laura Curran.
Thank you very much again, Senator Schumer, for coming to our South Shore communities and being their champion. We really appreciate you. And I'm also grateful to our partners in government at all levels that are here. I think the word of the day is resilience. We're doing what we can on the county level, working with Denise Ford, who represents this area, to make the Reynolds Channel and the Back Bay cleaner when it comes to sewage, with a massive diversion project, which is going very well and meeting all of its benchmarks. And we're asking now, and I echo the plea to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to complete this study. We're working very closely with the DEC on the county level, working with the U.S. Corps. We have weekly updates. But as the senator said, if the funding, which will dry up next month, is not renewed, is not reauthorized, this will go on a shelf. All of the work for 3 years, all of the smart, intelligent work that has gone into this study will be for naught. So it makes me very sad to think that all of that intelligence and all of that work will just come to a grinding halt. So in the scheme of things, in the federal budget, it's not a lot of money. I know it's easy for me to say because it's not my budget, but $6 million will go a long way to finishing the study once and for all. And then the importance of the study is then we can come up with what the solutions are, how we can make our communities more resilient. We're looking for solutions, and this will get us there. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have Laura Gillen, our great town supervisor of the largest town in the world.
In the world. I think we went to the universe.
Universe,
Last
the
press
galaxy, the Milky Way.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, Mayor McKenty, for welcoming us to the beautiful village of Island Park. Thank you, as always, to Senator Schumer, who really is a fierce advocate for Long Island in the U.S. Senate and an important voice on all of the issues that are related to rebuilding our South Shore. We're here to say today that the Army Corps needs to stay here on the South Shore of Nassau County until their job is complete. Right now, the town of Hempstead only has half of a blueprint to support the long-term resiliency and sustainability of our coastal communities in the event of the next major hurricane, which we know is going to happen. And this is unacceptable. If the federal government has the resources to spend on a southern border wall, then surely there should be enough resources to complete a study on how best to protect hundreds of thousands of homeowners who live on or near the back bays of southern Nassau County from the threat of storm surges. The town of Hempstead has been hard at work restoring our natural ecosystems in the back bays in ways to provide coastal storm risk benefits. But this benefit will only be fully realized when it works in tandem with projects in every community along the South Shore. The vast majority of the Army Corps study is in the town of Hempstead, so I am particularly frustrated that we do not have a final plan yet. The total study area includes 150,000 structures and over $100 billion in total damageable assets. So the importance and urgency of getting through this project should be obvious to the Army Corps. The consequences of cutting and running before the mission is complete can be disastrous to the many families who live here on the South Shore of Nassau County and in the town of Hempstead. And it's only underscored by the recent reports of the devastation we are witnessing in the Bahamas from Hurricane Dorian. Well, there is no doubt that we are all safer, a little bit safer than we were before Sandy because of the work that's been done. There is still much work that needs to be done. And unfortunately, all of the effort and all of the work that we have put in can come crumbling down and fail if it does not work as part of a larger plan for resiliency. So I thank you, Senator Schumer, for your advocacy, and I hope that you will be joined by your colleagues to push forward and continue this study.
Thank you, Laura. Very well said. Anthony Esposito, or in Brooklyn we might say Antony Esposito, will be the last speaker.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Schumer, for making your way to Island Park, the place that I've called home for my entire life. And like Senator Kaminsky mentioned, this beach right here, I know it doesn't look like a beach right now, but actually was a beach that we used years back when I lifeguarded on Masson Beach. We used to paddle back and forth, and there was people that we used to enjoy this beautiful place, and it's a shame of what has come of it. But like was mentioned by all my colleagues in government, Island Park, the town of Hempstead, Nassau County, New York State is a resilient place. And that was seen firsthand, especially here in Island Park following the days of Superstorm Sandy, when 95% of the homes here had water in them. And I remember at the time I was the chief of the fire department going door to door, seeing people that we've known for our entire lives, the mayor and I, literally carrying everything that was left of their lives on their heads in baskets. But we've come back strong. Like the mayor mentioned, this is a renaissance here in Island Park, and we're here today not just about Island Park, but about all the back bays, about the South Shore of Long Island, the South Shore of Nassau County, and how important it is that we make sure the Army Corps continues this study. Because the last thing we want is all the work that's gone in and all the hard work and the money that's been spent to just really be, as mentioned before, left on a shelf and for naught. There are too many people that depend on this study. There are too many businesses that depend on this study. And there are too many futures of local communities that depend on this study. So, Senator, thank you for making your way to Island Park to advocate on behalf of all of us here in Island Park and the town of Hempstead for this work to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Well, just one more point, just to make it clear. This money has been appropriated already. We appropriated something called the Sandy Relief Account to deal with resiliency, and it's sitting there. Now, it's so dumb not to move forward. I know the accountants will say you didn't spend it this year, so by September 30th it's a little less that you spent. But that makes no sense. When you compare the billions of dollars in damage that could occur if we don't have resiliency to $6 million to complete the study, well, it ain't even close. We'll take questions on this subject.
Do you have any idea why the federal government is
I think this is bean counter. As I said, the local Army Corps wants it. They've requested it. They're good. They do a good job from the early days of Joe Vitri on. They really have done a great job here, and they care about Long Island, and many of their local folks come from Long Island, so they get it. They get the beauty. I mean, the idea that that Dutch guy, whoever cited him, when you look at the beauty here, why should people move somewhere else? It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's a great place to live. And, you know, Long Island's expensive, but people appreciate the beauty of the area, the schools, the transportation, the low crime. It's just a great place to live, and we're not going to give it up. Some people said give it up. No way. We're going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting. But it's bean countered them, so they say they spend $6 million less in fiscal year 2019. That's why they do it. Another few years will take this. It'll take the study a while because it's been more complicated than they thought. But then before they even finish the study, I'll be working to get the actual money to implement whatever they propose after we talk to the community.
What still needs to be done in that study?
Lots of different things because there are different consequences. You know, what do you do if a hurricane's coming from the west, if a hurricane's coming from the south, if it's coming from the southeast? What do you do if the winds are this high? What if you do if winds are that high? If you plug up something here, will it lead to a problem, 10 miles further east? It's complicated, and they're good at it, but it takes a while, and they have to do these, forget the word, simulation. Thank you, Mr. Todd Kaminsky. They have to do these simulations, these modelings, and they're doing a lot of them, and we told them to be completely, we don't want a half-baked job. Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, and I believe that the mayor of Freeport has mentioned something about
He has.
doing a project on Rockaway Inlet and on the Jones Beach Inlet.
Correct.
I mean, we're spending.
That's one of the things they're testing right now. We've asked them to check gates on the inlets and widening the inlets, and not widening the, closing an inlet, which you can't do because of the boats. But we've asked them to look at everything.
But the system works there in Venice.
Well, we have told them to. We have told them to.
I've just seen a documentary on it.
Okay, I will make sure they look at the Venice system, and maybe no, I won't say that. Going to suggest, yeah, I was going to suggest they go there and we go with them, but that would be wrong.
McGinty's paying.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.